Welcome to Man Do 2. We are about to do something that we have not yet done and that actually has never seen YouTube, and that is the Connecticut Parole Hearings. Thank you, Richard, for uncovering this. Now, these parole hearings are a little bit different than what we are accustomed to in Louisiana. Not only is the accents quite different, but we don't get to see the parole board members' faces. For whatever reason, they don't show themselves on the screen. Now, if this is something that we still want to continue doing, we will eventually do a briefing on who the parole board members are. But I think that for now, we can jump into these parole hearings. Now, they do give the conclusion at the end of each parole hearing, so we know what the outcome would be, which is great. Some other states don't do that. And in this mix, we're going to throw in a few other things. Jam Jam actually mentioned it. Thank you, Jam Jam. And those are pardon hearings. So it's also from the state of Connecticut, but those have been on YouTube before. So what we're going to again watch are these parole hearings and also a couple of pardon hearings. Now, the problem with the pardon hearings is that they don't tell us what the outcome is. They don't say if they recommend to the governor or not a full pardon. So you'll have to let me know if that's something that you still want to continue doing. Now, also to preface, the reason that he is in the orange jumpsuit and has his hands handcuffed is because he had received a write-up the day before. They don't call it write-ups, though. They call it, gosh, I already forgot the name. They call it something else here in Connecticut. We'll get to that. But for now, enough of me talking. Let's jump in.
The parole. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they reviewed all statutorily required documents and available information in preparation of the hearing.
Good morning, I'm panel member Page.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Good morning, panel member Dorgan.
Also present is Victim Services Advocate Lisa Hamlin Williams. Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Your name, sir, and the inmate number?
Daniel Rosario, inmate number 302125.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Daniel Rosario, inmate number 302125. He is serving a sentence of 15 years executed suspended after 5 years jail with 3 years probation for manslaughter first and illegal operation of a motor vehicle while under the influence. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of November 3rd, 2023. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed, is currently participating in the Tier 4 program.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I probably. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about myself a little bit and giving me the privilege to for parole. I would like to first apologize to the victim and the victim's family for the crime I committed. It was reprehensible, and I caused a lot of damage, for in my active addiction when I was out. But doing these programmings, I put myself in their shoes now, and I actually truly feel the pain and sorrow that I caused by taking away a brother, an uncle, and a best friend away from certain people. So again, I just want to apologize to them. I also would like to say during my incarceration, I did catch a couple of tickets. Three of them were for contraband, having stuff that I wasn't supposed to have. One of them was for intoxication, and one was for pouring water in my bunkie's TV because he told on me, and I just got a little upset, so I poured water in his TV. Also, right now, I'm currently in SAG for somebody pulling a prank on me yesterday. And when I went to go to my visit, there was a picture of somebody else's face on one side of the ID that I didn't know about. And now I'm in SAG for that, for hiding my identity. But I just want to say that I've been in Tier 4 for a little while, and I've been learning how to deal with my emotions now by talking about them. I've also been learning how to channel my anger through talking about it and not letting it bottle up. I've also been learning about my addiction and how it's a disease, and I've been tackling that addiction by doing the programs and doing the NA and AA classes. I also have plans for when I get out. I have 2 job opportunities. I have one with my cousin's husband at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, helping the driver. I also have another one with my uncle in Watertown at the Kia dealership as a detailer. I'm also gonna go to the reentry program in Waterbury, and the Wheeler Clinic to get myself a therapist to help me with my mental health. Also, I have a C-car representative that's going to help me. His name is Rich in Waterbury also. That's going to help me with my, my addiction and help me go to NA and AA programs. Because I know that when I get out, I gotta stay busy and have work and do programming so I won't end up coming back to jail. And yeah, again, I just want to apologize to the victim and the victim's family, and I want to thank you guys for letting me speak on my behalf.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosario, for your opening statement and for explaining why you're in that red jumpsuit and in cuffs. We appreciate the remorse that you've expressed towards the victim. And we are going to each take an opportunity to ask you some questions based on the information that we've reviewed. We will then, when we're done with our questions, we'll turn the hearing over to our victim's advocate for input from the victim's family. And then we'll hear us deliberate and we will give you our official decision. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want you to know that the Waterbury State's Attorney's Office did submit a written opposition letter stating that the sentence that you received was very minimal in connection to the severity. So they think that you should complete the remainder of your sentence. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Palmieri is going to start with the questions.
Okay.
Chair. Good morning, Mr. Rosario. I echo the chair's sentiments. Thank you for your opening statement. It was important here. You recognize the pain that the victims have suffered over the years and that you can have remorse for that. From my review of the file, it looked like you did have some relationship with the victim.
Yes.
Were you living there at the time?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And after you had the altercation with the victim, had you given any thought to calling an ambulance or trying to do something to assist him?
No, I didn't. Because there's people, the neighbors ran over there and they were doing it. They had called them already.
And in reflection on that incident, were you under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time?
Yes, I was.
And
We
you
both
also,
were.
you both were, okay. And you were on probation at the time as well?
Yes.
And were you participating in any kind of community programs while you were on probation?
No, I wasn't.
Should you have been? Did the probation or the parole officer, had they referred you to any place?
I never, I didn't even get to go see the parole people. I mean, the probation people.
And you've been on probation or parole before, right? You seem to struggle with that in the community.
Yes, I did.
Why do you think you struggle with community supervision?
At the time, I've always been battling this drug addiction that I have. I've been doing drugs for over 15 years, you know, and it's just something that I've been battling, and this is something that I got to keep trying to get help for. And I've been doing it here.
And it's unfortunate that you have this disciplinary report from yesterday, and
Yes.
you will likely no longer be participating in the Tier 4 program. So that is unfortunate, but it is important to hear that you're thinking about what your needs will be when you're back in the community, and that you've identified a number of positive programs out there that can provide you support if you choose to participate in it and acknowledge that you need the extra help. I heard, how long were you in the Tier 4 program?
So I did it once when I was in Carl Robinson. I was there 5 months. That's when I caught that ticket for pouring the water in the TV. And then I've been in it now since November 23rd of last year.
So you've actually, this is your second opportunity to purchase Tier 4. Okay, you're very fortunate. So you really had November, December, almost 8 months of some sort of substance use treatment. Okay.
Yes,
and I did hear what you said about what you've learned from it so far. And that do you think anger plays into your substance abuse? Do you think anger creates your substance abuse? I heard you mention channel my anger. What did you mean by that?
So, yes, a little bit. I grew up in, a home with, a lot of domestic violence and all that. So, but yeah, I guess, when I was under the influence, stuff like that, I got extra mad, and so, yeah, it kind of, goes a little too far when drinking and stuff like that.
Do you think that some of your disciplinary reports, even though pouring the water into the television is not a physical altercation, do you see that as a form of anger, retribution?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Retaliating? Yeah.
Yes, because I know in my mind I said I would never put my hands on anybody else. Never again I would do that, and that's why I poured the TV instead of putting my hands on him. But now I do realize that it still is. Yes, it does. It goes hand in hand. It does, and I feel sorry. I feel bad for doing that.
It's all part of, your behaviors and your thinking, your attitudes.
Yes.
So, Mr. Rosario, I want to repeat that, I heard you talk about a lot of what you've learned from your 2 opportunities in the Tier 4 program. I think you have benefited from the little bits that you've been able to participate. I think it's terrific that you have employment opportunities. That structure of employment is so important when you're in the. So I have no other questions. Thank you for answering what I did.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. So Mr. Rosario, one of the things that Ms. Palmieri connected was your treatment in the Tier 4 program. But I want to address the ticket that you received between the 5 months that you completed at CRCI and to this November. So you got a ticket for Suboxone?
Yes, intoxication, yes.
So why would you have completed that amount of treatment and then relapse?
Tell you the truth, I don't know. I don't know. All I know what to do was to mend this pain that I was going through, and the opportunity came up and it was there and I did it, and I regretted it when I did it. And that's why I put myself back in tier 4, because I know the last time I was in SAG, I made I made a promise to myself that I need to change, that I have to change. And that's why I readmitted myself into tier 4 again.
And unfortunately, you really have some very serious disciplinary infractions, like shanks and I mean, I understand you want to make money with the tattoo gun, but these were some pretty serious disciplinary infractions. Aside, we don't know what truly happened because we don't have an official record of your most recent disciplinary infraction. But you know, I don't even know how someone could get your ID and be able to put something inside your ID. Aren't you supposed to have that with you at all times?
Yes. So in the program, in the J2, you have to put your ID outside of the door to let everybody know that you're gonna go take a shower. In the shower, yeah. So it was outside of the thing, and it's been going around. People been having stuff like afros drawn on their IDs and all that, but this person actually put a picture this time, and it wasn't funny to the CO that had seen it, and I didn't see it either. If I would have seen it, I would have took it off, but I didn't. I didn't see it.
How did you feel about the state's attorney's office objecting to your request for early release?
I actually thought it was gonna. I actually thought they were gonna do that. So I was ready. I'm ready for it. I was ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah. How old are you, Mr. Rosario?
I'm 40 years old.
Do you want to die?
No, I don't. My father just passed away in November from overdose. So I don't want to put my kids or any of my family members through what I went through. I literally just went through it, and I don't want to die. I don't.
All right, Mr. Dargan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, sir. So,
Good morning.
so when I was reading, I said, well, this is good. You're in tier 4, with completion sometime around March. And then, what happened with the DR, on the other hand, you're in the sentence sometime between July and August of this year. You have 3 years of probation to follow. Yes. So, my one question is, what do you think that you need to succeed so you're not back before us in the future?
I need to keep myself busy by working, going to NA and AA programs when I get out. That's what you mean? You mean when I get out, right? Yes. I need to sorry. Yeah, so I just need to keep programming and be a productive member of society, by doing what I have to do and taking care of myself, my family. I got 2 daughters, and paying my taxes and doing voting when I need to and all that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for answering my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dargan. So, Mr. Rosario, we're going to turn the hearing over to our victim's advocate. We ask again that you do not interrupt, and we will deliberate after we hear from the victim, and then we will give you all a decision, okay? So our question and answer portion is over. Your speaking portion is done. All right. Thank you. Good morning, Mrs. Williams, again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I did hear from the family in this case, and I was reading the statement from the brother.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you
Oh,
either.
I'm sorry.
It's
Can
okay.
you hear me better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I said I did hear from the family of the victim, and I will be reading a statement from the brother of the victim. To whom it may concern, my 61-year-old brother, Keith Sullivan, was removed from this world at the hands of Daniel Rosario, number 00302-125. He did not die of natural causes or health-related issues. He was brutally beaten to death by this career thief. This career criminal, Daniel Rosario, whom already had multiple warrants out for his arrest, murdered my brother and destroyed my family. Yes, murdered him. However, he pled to manslaughter. He has no regard for human life, which was demonstrated in this brutal killing of my brother, Keith Sullivan. He beat an elderly, defenseless, health-stricken man to death with no remorse. He beat the lifeless body, threw it down the stairs, and then ran away and hid. We attended every court date we were allowed and witnessed the fact that he never expressed remorse for the killing of our brother. We are not safe if he is released. This person, Daniel Rosario, has demonstrated his lack of respect for the law and proven he does not comply with court orders, as he had many warrants out for his arrest at the time of the killing. He hangs out with criminals, has been a lifelong criminal, not working or adding any positive value to our society. Our family has not healed from the loss of our brother. He was the eldest sibling and a joy to be around. Some of our members are still seeing mental health providers because of the devastating impact this has had on our lives. Please keep Daniel Rosario in jail to serve the maximum time to give our family appropriate time to heal. Respectfully, brother of the victim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. I appreciate that. So again, Mr. Rosario, we are going to deliberate and listen, don't interrupt, okay? Thank you. Ms. Palmieri?
So Mr. Rosario, unfortunately, doesn't give us a whole,
To work with.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't give us a lot of positive to kind of look at. I just can talk about that he's done it. Had the opportunity through the Tier 4 program twice. He's had multiple sections of it, and he does seem to be able to articulate some benefits of it. So that's a plus. I think he has a good release plan if he sticks to it.
Yep.
However, he's got a number of disciplinary reports that are of a very concerning nature, as recent as yesterday. The state's attorney objects. The victims are still devastated. And, you know, he was on probation when he committed the offense. It's a serious offense, the loss of life. And, you know, he has criminal history, which shows a propensity for not complying with the law. His unaddressed substance abuse failure at community supervision. So I am unable to vote in favor of his today.
Thank you. Ms. Palmieri, Mr. Dargan?
Yeah, so I'm back to everything that my colleague said, along with input from the state's attorneys, and then his past performance on any sort of supervision hasn't been too positive either.
It sounds like Mr. Rosario really does want to turn his life around, and he still has support in the community when he goes out there. So hopefully he will make better choices, and he does have 3 years of probation to follow as sentence. So I'm going to suggest that the reasons for our denials is poor institutional adjustment, the injury and impact to the victim, and also I mean, there's several. So we could do the nature and circumstance, or we could do I'm going to say in the state's attorney objection. But if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So for institutional adjustment, inadequate evidence of offender change, injury and impact to the victim, state's attorney objection, and yes, say that as well. All right, so we're all set with our official decision with regard to Daniel Rosario, 302125. There's a motion to deny his request for discretionary parole with no new hearing date based on his poor institutional adjustment and inadequate evidence of offender change, the nature and circumstance of this offense, which resulted in the loss of a life, the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. And the state's attorney submitted written opposition to his early release. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, unfortunately, Mr. Rosario, we couldn't vote you to parole. You will receive all of this in writing, sir. I hear
Okay.
you, the cusp of change. I really do hope that you survive this, all right? I know it's hard. Hopefully you could do it. All right, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Victoria.
Daniel Rosario.
Have a good day.
You too.
Wow. So what do you think? This hearing kind of caught me off guard when he came in the red jumpsuit and with his hands cuffed behind his back. And then he sits there and he's kind of, to me, it kind of looked like he had just an unnatural kind of look in the way that his eyes were darting around the room. And I just assumed that he might not be all there. But then when he starts talking, he just seems completely lucid. It's very different than, again, like Louisiana parole hearings that we hear. I think he actually seems to be quite. He would have aced his hearing if in Louisiana, except for the fact that he had all those write-ups. And in Louisiana, of course, he would not have been allowed to even have had a parole hearing. And of course, they don't call it write-ups here. They call it tickets. But yeah, in Louisiana, you can't even have a hearing if you've had a write-up within 12 months of your parole hearing. Forget having one a day before. Now, I would not be surprised if whoever did that stunt on him did it intentionally, knowing that he had a parole hearing the next day. To me, that sounds pretty intentional. And from my understanding, I guess he has to put his ID out when he's going for a shower, and someone covered his picture of his ID. I believe him. I don't believe that was his fault. Again, it seems like someone intentionally did it to punk him. And because who wants to show up to their parole hearing in an orange jumpsuit with your hands cuffed behind your back? We have seen a lot in Louisiana, but we have never seen. Have we seen people with their hands cuffed behind their back? I don't think I can recall that. Can you imagine? I mean, it's like, really? You can't just have him cuffed in front? It's just maybe we've seen it a couple of times, but but then you hear about what he did, and you hear about the other write-ups. They're talking about finding shanks, tattoo guns, pouring water on someone's TV. It's like, okay, you're supposed to convince the board that, or the system, that you're okay to being let out. But if you can't control yourself, and hey, maybe it was that person's TV, he was getting the last laugh by covering his ID, right? But yeah, this was an obvious no-go, in my opinion. Now, I don't know who these board members are yet, and we're going to, over time, figure them out, figure out their personalities. This whole system, the idea that we can't see their faces, it's a whole new system we're going to have to get used to, right? And it's going to take a while, I think, for me to begin to learn their personalities. And I'll be able to soon. What we'll do is we'll unpack their backgrounds so we can get to know them better. Here's the article Richard found. And of course, Richard unlocked all these entire hearings. I think a gold mine that we can now start doing different parole hearings from a different state. It's so exciting. And so here he is. What he was charged with, it's interesting how the article's written. In 2019, 61-year-old Waterbury man dies. Neighbor charges result. Waterbury man was been arrested and charged with connection of his neighbor's untimely death. According to Waterbury Police Department, officers responded to a residence in Jewel Street just after 8 p.m. on Saturday After a report of the unconscious man later identified, he had suffered severe injury to the head and was bleeding profusely. At first, it was reported to the officers that Sullivan may have fallen from his porch, hitting his head on the cement below. He was then transported to St. Mary's Hospital, where he was treated for his injuries, but was pronounced dead on Monday at 4 a.m. As the investigators into Sullivan's death developed, police say that they determined the injury was not, in fact, caused by accidental fall, but was caused by what believed to have been an assault on the 61-year-old man as a result. The city detectives located Sullivan, who was 35 at the time. Sorry, Daniel Rosario, pictured above. And he was charged, this interesting charge, right? Assault with the first degree. And maybe they call things differently. And he hadn't, I guess, been, I don't know, but I think it said that it was manslaughter, right? He'd gotten ultimately 15 years. And by the time of this parole hearing, he had served 5 of the 15. So he takes a life, has an opportunity of parole after 5 years. Of course, he has all those write-ups. He blows it, but nothing he could have done. I didn't think he had a bad interview. I thought that under the circumstances, he like expressed remorse. He didn't say things like, I wish I could take it back. If I could, I would, right? Like, he actually seems somewhat prepared. Very different than what we're used to seeing in Louisiana. Although, he only had it was as if he had practiced it, right? He only had a few minutes to do his part. And then how they had the victim's advocate speak on behalf of the victim in a concise, well-prepared speech. And ultimately, it's going to take a while for us to get used to this, but we'll do a few more hearings. Love to hear your thoughts, of course, on this. But yeah, this is going to be something new that we'll begin doing more often on Mandu 2. So please do let me know your thoughts. Let's move to the next one.
My name is Parole Officer Menard. Today is Friday, January 12th, 2024. This is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Partisan Parole. Following board members are present this afternoon by stating their names on the record, certified they reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good afternoon. I'm panel member Page.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Good afternoon, panel member Dorgan.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Daniel Meyer, 373715.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Daniel Meyer, inmate number 373715. He is serving a sentence of 8 years executed, suspended after 4 years jail with 3 years probation for 4 counts of burglary third, 2 counts of larceny third, possession of a controlled substance, larceny first, and risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of October 9th, 2023. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the VOICES program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the high range of risk for recidivist. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Before I came to jail, I was doing a lot of stupid stuff to support a drug habit. That's what a lot of my crimes are based on, is supporting a drug habit and trying to pay the bills to get by. When I came to jail, I pretty much continued the same thing for a year and a half, doing a stupid thing. I caught 6 tickets for pretty much contraband and the Chica tampering with safety and security. About 6 months ago, when I got sentenced, I finally figured out it's time to cut out the stupid shit. There's stupid stuff, pardon my language, and I've been working on myself for the past 6 months. I started talking to my sponsor again. I started methadone again a couple weeks ago because I was clean for 4 years before this, and it helps me stay on track. I'm doing my step work once again, and I'm just trying to get back out to help my mom. She's 62. My father passed right before I came in here, and it's part of the reason why I relapsed and started doing all the crimes I did, because my drug habit was more important than anything.
Okay, I appreciate your opening statement, Mr. Meyer. You know, I every time I hear you young people talk like 60 is old, it just your mother still has a whole bunch of life left to live, so don't count her out just yet. But nonetheless, so what will happen here is each of us will take an opportunity to ask you some questions. When we are done with our questions, we will deliberate and give you our decision, okay?
Okay.
Best of luck to you, sir. Mr.
Thank
Dargan
you.
will start with the questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. How are you?
So it looks like the majority of your convictions were related to your drug addiction. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Besides the risk of injury? Okay.
Yeah.
So with that said, you talked briefly about some of your DR reports, right? And I also read that one of them, you were making Pruno to support yourself. So were you selling it to other inmates, or were you drinking it?
No.
Or what were you doing?
I was selling it to other inmates. I try not to ask my family for support because they have their own bills. I put myself here, so they shouldn't have to take money out of their pockets to send me money. So I would take the Pruno, I would make it and sell it to try to have stuff in my locker.
So help me out when I'm looking it up. So you weren't working in the facility?
I started in medical, and when I first came in, and like you'll see, I have a ticket because I was taking pills out of the garbage as another way to support myself. And I got a ticket for that, and I lost my job. And
so back to the Pruno. So your family wasn't putting any money on the books or whatever. So is that what you need?
they do what they can. They do the best they can. It's not every month. Maybe it's every 3 or 4 months, but.
Okay. So now I kind of, I understand the background of it a little bit. So what do we deal with your substance abuse? Because it looked like your issues were primarily heroin and crack cocaine.
Yeah. Before this, I was 4 years clean. I was working a good job. That job is I still have the opportunity to return. But when my father got sick, I really didn't know how to deal with it. Seeing my dad, he had Alzheimer's. He was forgetting who I was. He was forgetting how to do things. So to self-medicate and take my mind off that things I started to use. But before that, I was clean for 4 years. I was going to meetings every day. I mean, I was on methadone, getting take homes 2 weeks at a time. I was with a sponsor. I had a grant sponsor. I have a sober community that I was really part of before I relapsed.
Okay, so it looked like back in 2006, you started using oxycodone, and
yeah, that was like the cool thing to do in high school. That was what the in crowd was doing.
So how long have you been sober? Even though you were making Pruno, I assume maybe you were drinking some of the Pruno. You didn't? Oh, okay.
I've been clean since the day I came in here. Other than methadone that I get from the facility, I have been clean the whole time.
Wow, because I never heard too many people making Pruno and then selling it in the facility.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. You never heard that? About people making it because they don't have jobs and stuff?
No, I know they make it, but I didn't know that it was like a resale market, that big of a resale market.
It is.
Yeah.
Very high resale market.
Yeah. Well, wow. I mean, maybe if you get the drug addiction under place, you could go work for a distillery when you come out, right?
Start my own distillery.
Yeah. So what is your game plan when you are released?
Well, right now, if I was to make parole, I could go to my mother's house, but I don't want to do that. I chose this, a halfway house, so I go to the halfway house, still have some structure, it's still being supervised and like, so I start IOP, downgrade the relapse prevention, slowly get a job and start saving money to get my own place and get my life back in track.
Okay. And I also see within your criminal convictions that you got an ongoing protective order in place, right?
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend.
Okay. And your game plan, where do you want to sponsor to? Halfway house?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, for recovery or staying drug, alcohol free, what's your game plan there?
I'm like I said, I'm still in contact with my sponsor. I'm going to start going to meetings again. They just started meetings again here in Osborne, so I signed up for that. But if I was released, go to meetings, relapse prevention, IOP, get back in contact with my support system, my sponsor, and start working the steps again.
Okay, so how long were you clean in the past?
Before this, 4 years. That's my longest stretch of clean time.
Say that again, what was that?
4 years was the longest stretch.
Okay. So what happened that you relapsed?
My father got sick and I used that as a way of not knowing how to really cope with seeing my father, not know who I was, not know how to take care of himself as a opportunity to get high.
Got it. So do you think you have better coping skills in place so you don't relapse again?
Yeah, I've always had the coping skills. I think in the back of my mind, I always had that thought or urge to want to use, and that was just the thought. That was just the opportunity for me to take an opportunity of using.
All right. Well, thank you for answering my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Gargan. You know, Mr. Meyer, you were using a lot of drugs. I'm really surprised that you're still alive, like.
Me too.
Mr. Cormier?
And just to follow up on that, I'm looking at the amount of drugs, because I'm looking at how many felony convictions you have. And the majority of them is for stealing copper wire. So I'm thinking to myself, you must get a good amount of money for the amount of copper wire you were stealing.
Yeah, that's for not what I got caught. That's just for what I got caught with too. So.
And stolen U-Haul and stolen U-Haul. And I'm just thinking too, the harm to these companies that you were stealing from.
Yeah, I didn't like. That's what the Voices program really brought to my attention, and IPO Bernard. I really didn't think about. I knew what it was doing to what it was doing to the company, but I didn't think what it was doing to the company's customers and all that stuff too.
We all pay for that.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if you lost power and I robbed this company and they didn't have the supplies to put your power back on, you could have been without power even longer.
Days, weeks for some poor people.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Myers, you mentioned a couple of times you had this 4-year period where you were able to be sober.
Yeah.
So, where was your meeting? Where were you going to home group?
Waterbury, but my main group was in Torrington. That was my home group, Torrington.
Okay. And who were you living with during that time?
My mother and my father.
And your plan is to go to a halfway house, go to IOP meetings and work. Anything else you think that might be helpful?
I mean, I don't have a GED, so I want to get it. I've been putting it off, get back in school, get that, and maybe get into like college class for being a drug counselor. I've always been told that I'm very good at being like helping other addicts.
or even a trade.
Yeah, because I was supervisor at the place I was working in global steering systems in Watertown, and like I said, I still had the opportunity to return there.
Well, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Pomeroy. So, Mr. Meyer, I have no additional questions for you. We're going to, did we, I know that you're in the MAP program, but where do you fall on the tier, participating in a tier program?
I wrote her, they never responded. I have a general referral to, addiction services. I wrote and I asked them about why my level was a 5. They answered that and I said, I have a referral, but they never responded to that.
So do you think that you're getting the DRs is also putting you further back on the list, or?
I don't think, because when I came in here, they started me at Voices within the month that I came here.
Right, but everybody in there doesn't really need the Voices program. Most people in there are addicts, so,
It could be.
yeah, okay, all right, give us a few minutes to talk about kids. All right, Mr. Dargan.
So, Mr. Myers has somewhat of an extensive drug history, right? I mean, that's
It's
a
2009.
given. He's completed Voices, he's done the medicated assisted program. What was concerning to me is the DRs that he received and then making the criminal getting caught. He talked about his 4 years of being drug free. Reading all the information that's prepared for us, and with a drug alcohol score of a 5, I had him denied. The only question I had is, you're going to end the sentence, or there's an opportunity to bring him back? And that's just where my thought process is right now.
Thank you, Mr. Dargan. Oh, Mary.
It is of the same thinking that it's a lot of felony charges. There's a lot of money involved in what was stolen to support his drug habit. I am concerned about the 6 disciplinary reports. I appreciate that kind of money on his books, but I'm sure there's a lot of other individuals that's not the route that they take as well. He scores highs. He's got a drug score of 5. So I am a denial for today. However, I would not be opposed to bringing Mr. Meyer back for a rehear and see if he couldn't do a tier program. I appreciate that he's in the MAP program. I appreciate that he's had a lot of treatment in the community, but he's at another place in his addiction life. So I
Not only that, I really think that he could really use a refresher course, because, unfortunately, death and illnesses are a part of our lives, stress, all that stuff. And perhaps he can gain some additional tools from completing another program. You never can have too much education, but I would have him come back as well. And no more tickets. He can't sell any more Chrono. We're done with that.
see put some more time too between the last DR.
Yeah.
And his release.
So when's the end of sentence? July 25,
Yeah.
somewhere around there,
To go.
Yeah, he has a ways to go.
or October, whenever.
He's, I would, his last ticket was in June.
They all seem to be in 23, I think.
There's
22?
He had a few. But so I would do, if we wanted to give him a year, it would be, I would do July 1st of this year. And that's still a gift. Is that enough time?
So give him a year out.
Are you,
To end
Yeah.
the sentence.
are you saying 6 months from now, bring them back?
Then give him enough, if he were to get the tier 4, then give him enough time to even do the tier 4.
It wouldn't. I don't know if he would get the tier 4 though. And then we can't even say that we want him to take the tier
No.
4 because, and then if it,
Right, we just say clear for
I think
year
6
three.
months is a gift. I think it's
Very much a gift.
to put,
do you
gives him
want,
a year from that last disciplinary report and an opportunity to do not just the TIF program, but even some maybe work on his G.
so, right, so, I mean, we can do, if, I mean, it should he be, we don't want to stifle him either, so that if they do want to put him in a tier 4 program, they don't have enough time, you know what I mean? So maybe
You
if
want
we
to
do
push it out
9 months.
September or
Yeah, maybe
October?
September, just to, just so that they don't feel,
Yeah,
uh,
that makes more sense.
no, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do
Tier
9 and
DR
24,
free.
yep, a tier,
Positive.
yep.
Yeah.
And the reason for denial will be a lack of program participation and inadequate evidence of offender change and or institutional adjustment with the DRs.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so with regard to Daniel Meyer, 373715, there's a motion to deny his request for discretionary parole today based on his poor institutional adjustment. Looks like he received 6 disciplinary infractions as incarceration, and he has not completed an addiction services program, so his inadequate program participation and inadequate evidence of offender change. I further move to rehear Mr. Meyer in September of 2024, at which time he should have successfully completed a tier program and also any other positive programs, and no more DRs, no more selling criminal. Is there a second?
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so Mr. Meyer, we're gonna give you another opportunity to come back before us, and we really do hope that you can get some additional treatment, work on your GED, get to work, get a routine,
Okay.
other than sitting in there and doing nothing, and come back and see us in September, okay?
Okay,
Good luck to you, sir.
thank you. Have a good one.
This concludes the hearing for Daniel Meyer. It may be so.
Well, that is certainly interesting. I didn't realize it. Did I hear that right? That he just started taking methadone again, like recently? I think that that's what I heard. And I don't know. Is that a thing? Do they do that in prison? Because he's been locked up for quite a while. And I thought that I heard him say that he just started taking methadone again. And I don't know. I mean, Connecticut does things differently, I guess. Now he's about the age of what I think like 20, 27, 28 years old. He looks a little bit worse for wears. He has like a long record, as I think they've gone through, and most recently having a firearm. And there's also, what Richard shared is he has discharge of a firearm. He has, just seems he keeps getting in trouble over and over and over again. Now, and then again, he has these write-ups for making illegal booze. That's basically what it was. He insists that he's not drinking it, and they're just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll believe you on that one." Or they don't challenge him. Again, it's going to take a while for us to understand and learn the personalities of these board members, and we'll set aside a time to go through their backgrounds, so that we can better understand who they are. But it was interesting that they started to have like dialogue between themselves about, oh, I didn't know that there was a market for selling that stuff in prison. And it was like, yeah, of course there is. And then he chimes in, he's like, yeah, there's a great market. I don't think he's the sharpest tool in the shed. He also starts bragging about how much copper he had stolen. He's like, yeah, that's only what I've been caught for. Oh my gosh. Now, it's the copper thing is something I'm quite familiar with. I had a previous history where I did real estate, dilapidated homes, and contracting, like general contractor and stuff. And yeah, it is in my opinion, the people they shouldn't be locking up and sending to prison. It shouldn't be the addicts that are taking the copper piping. It needs to be the people who are buying it from them. But we don't have PhDs, and we're not running the whole judiciary system. So of course that idea of going after the people buying it from them is Obviously a dumb one, right? Let's just go chase after the addicts because that's really going to solve the problem. But it's you know, and all the time that I've been working in this, there was always copper pipes being stolen, and I had never heard of the people buying it. Who are the mom and pop stores around the corner, the plumbing stores? They, you know, they make a decent amount of money melting the copper pipes, but then they make even more money when the landowners or whoever's buying the real estate has to now go to them to rebuild all of that in the home, right? They're burning the candle at both ends for profit. They benefit a lot more than just from the copper. They benefit when that copper pipe is stolen because that person now that you know, entrepreneur, whoever is going to fix that home is going to have to go and put in all new stuff, which is not copper anymore. Now they use the, what's it called? Not the plastic, the oh gosh, it's just slipped my mind what it is, but I'm sure you'll put it in the comment section what I'm talking about. It's like the plastic pipes, PVC. PVC, I think it's PVC, right? But anyways, so it's just different. I need to get used to these hearings. They're very different. It's interesting how they kind of talk about things. It's also interesting how they set the next parole hearing date for him. So it's not like he has to reapply. They basically say, "Oh, you know what? We think you're far along enough. We're going to set another parole hearing date. Don't sell booze and like don't, you know, finish this program." Do we even say program anymore? I don't know what to do. We'll have to figure this out. But yeah, we have a bunch more hearings for you coming up soon. It's just different. I don't know. It's gonna take a while for me to get used to this, I think. I think I still, obviously, I much more prefer Louisiana style. I like that I have the close-up view of him. I don't like that we don't see the faces of the parole board members at all. Really don't like that. It's interesting, but it's gonna take a bunch of these hearings for me to, I think, have a real opinion, for any of us to have an opinion, right? Okay, so now we're going to jump into the pardon hearings that I was talking about earlier. It's a different board. We do see their faces, but again, we don't get the results. We won't know the results. This is something that they send the applicants privately. So you'll have to tell me if this is still something you are interested in covering or not. With that, let's jump forward.
There we go.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time. I'm Byron Sterling. I caught a charge when I was 17 for manufacturing, delivering, and possession was the second charge that they dropped. And I also had another possession that was on the same charge that was a misdemeanor. So they explained a little bit what happened was I took a friend somewhere and we were supposed to pick up video games. I was hanging with the wrong crowd, basically. Smoked a lot of weed back then. And I took him somewhere. And when we took him somewhere, he gave somebody some weed. I was a party to the crime. We pulled out of the driveway and it was more of a sting operation for my friend that they had going on. So when I pulled out the driveway, there's cops everywhere. Since then, I caught the charge at 17. Since then, when I got out of jail, I think I did like 10 days, maybe 15 days. I got out of jail. Since then, I finished high school. I did 2 years of college and technical college, MATC for business. And I had 2 years of probation, which I completed. I dropped every time, no dirty UAs, everything. I never went to jail, I don't think, on probation or anything. But what I've been doing since then, I worked at a landscape company for about 6 years, saved up some money. I opened a cleaning service with my mom, luxury cleaning, and we got a franchise through Cover All of America. It's a franchise company that gives us the accounts to clean. And I was not able to put the cleaning service in my name because of my past felony. So I wasn't able to do it. So my mom put it in her name, and I've been running it since then. Also, since then, we've acquired 2 properties from my brother. We've acquired the contract for the corners. My brother was on here last month. His name's Byron Sterling. So we have a contract for the Milwaukee County for the conveying of the bodies. So I own 25% in that company. And then also since then, I've moved to South Carolina, and I own a cleaning company in South Carolina. So I run about 4 companies since then. I haven't really been in trouble since then. Oh, in 08, I did catch a charge, I think a misdemeanor for smoking, having weed smoking. But since then, I'm fine. I don't smoke weed. I don't do anything like that. More like business orientated. I have kids now. I've been in a relationship for 10 years. We're going to be getting married soon. So the reason for this pardon is I want to get this off my back of the mistakes that I made as a kid. And I grew up now, and I understand that, you know, certain things you can't do. And this pardon would just help me with first getting, I would be able to transfer the cleaning service in my name. Then, you know, I'm able to show people that I hire a few people. I'm able to show them that you can, you know, you can mess up young and you still can fix your life, you know, and be a successful person. You know what I mean? The mistakes that you made young don't make who you are today. So that's the reason I want to pardon. Are there any questions other than that? That's really it.
Thank you, Mr. Sterling. I have one for you. Looks like you've had a 2021 OWI offense, your first, and then a couple of operating with a suspended license after that. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Okay, with the OUI, the OWI, it was my first one, and I got pulled over. I had my license, then I had got everything back together as far as my license. So I got pulled over, and I passed the sobriety test, and me not knowing my first OWI, I refused the blood test, and by me refusing a blood test, it set me up for more world in trouble than I thought I would be in. Like if I knew I would have been in this trouble where I can't do my first offense turned into like a charge because I didn't take the blood test. From my understanding, if I would have took the blood test, it would have been a citation and everything would have been fine. But that I just refused the blood test. My first OUI, I didn't know anything about it. So, but since then, I haven't been driving. I don't even drive anymore. So I don't have a license. So everybody takes me everywhere. I Uber everywhere. I'm working on trying to get my license back. I have to. I'm in South Carolina. So I'm not in South Carolina now. I'm in Wisconsin. So for me to get my license back, I have to be in Wisconsin. I have to take the class. And I'm just not able to take the class because I run a business in a different state. So I'm back here. I do come back here once a month, but it's not long enough for me to sit and go to MATC for the classes that I have to take every Saturday for 4 or 5 hours. So I haven't been able to do it. But like I said, I paid for everything. I did I paid for the stuff just to do it, and I never did it. I never went to the class to get my license back.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sterling. Other questions? Judge Cromers.
Okay, so you're living in South Carolina now, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm still in Wisconsin because I own property, so I still come here, and I own a business here. But
my question was, where do you live?
I live in South Carolina.
Thank you.
Goose Creek.
And according to our records, you owe Milwaukee County unemployment compensation of $4,386.20. What's that about?
I was unemployed during the pandemic, and I guess I mistakenly did something. I got overpaid, and I just haven't paid them yet. I haven't got on the payment plan or anything.
Okay, so you still owe that money?
Yeah, I still, as of today, I still owe the money. I just got a letter.
And then in 2021, there was something in the records about a contempt of court warrant. Do you know what that's about?
Yes, I do. So I have a baby. I had a baby by somebody. My girlfriend and I went now, and I'm on child support, and I don't know what happened with the contempt of court, but I didn't sign something, and they put me in contempt of court. I was riding with somebody, and I got pulled over in Waukesha, and they took me for contempt of court. But all that got figured out. My case was in West Bend for the child support, and we had to switch to Milwaukee. So it was just a bit. It was like a big misunderstanding. Like the contempt of court was a misunderstanding. I don't even know why that's on my record.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? None. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sterling. Appreciate your time with the board today and hope that you enjoy the rest of your morning.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Our next.
Well, that was a disaster. Oh man, I mean, these hearings happen real quick. It's much faster than Louisiana, and I guess things move a little faster here than in the South, Connecticut. So it's, it did not go well. I don't think that went well at all. He kind of lists the different offenses that he has, and then seems to be dishonest about those other offenses. They bring it up. Well, what about your 2021 OWI? And it's like, oh no, that right. No, I was fine. I refused a blood test, and it's like, I mean, I don't. I'm guessing he's saying he passed the test but refused a blood test, and that just doesn't add up to me. And then they go on to the next thing. What about the unemployment checks? And it's like, oh, that right. Well, I just a misunderstanding. And then what about the contempt of court? And it's like, really, man? I mean, you're asking for something which seems to be quite a pretty serious thing, to get a pardon, to get your record expunged, and then they're pulling up all of these things that as recent as just 3 years ago, and the list goes on and on and on. And now, so again, the way that it works with these hearings is that we don't get the results. We don't know if they recommend to the governor to pardon. They just sent like a letter in 2 months. Why they wait that long makes no sense to me. I don't really understand why they would do that, but I would be super surprised if they would. I think my guess is that you can't owe the state money. You can't have these type of things on your record to get a pardon. Now I've been watching a lot of these pardons. I watched like maybe 10 or 12, and pretty much all of them, in my opinion, it seems that people are coming in pretty unprepared. So it must be a much lower bar to apply, a much easier process maybe to apply. I'm quite surprised by it than it is in Louisiana. I mean, we've had some real shockers in Louisiana, but not like to this degree. There have been a few cuckoos in there, but I don't know. You tell me. But yeah, that was my impression with this one.
All right, picking back up with applicant number 5, we have, excuse me, Slade Colmack, represented by Attorney D'Amato.
Morning, Your Honor. Attorney D'Amato for Mr. Slade Colmack. He's present.
Good morning.
Mr. Colmack, can you please state your name for the record?
Slade Colmack.
Thank you.
All right.
Attorney D'Amato, will you be making a statement?
Sure. Yes, Your Honor. Honorable board members. So Mr. Colmack he's been free from crime for 14 years. There's nothing new to report since his application. He's got misdemeanor convictions, although there are several. Many of them are mitigated due to a serious robbery that he endured, life-threatening injuries. He also had some issues with walking away, being humiliated. He was able to, once he started to rehabilitate himself. He was able to make a professional life for himself. He was not arrested for anything, even though he was a professional fugitive recovery officer, which he absolutely loved to do. And in the state that he was in, Virginia, and I think Maryland, he didn't have any disqualifying offenses there. He when at some point his mother died and he had to come back to Connecticut, he was taking care of her for a while, and then she died. Through that death, he did not give up. He was not able to become a recovery officer here, so he went into tree work, which he actually enjoyed, found some satisfaction in that. He's now a mason, and that is not his favorite job. He would rather go into tree cutting, but it's not that time of year. He's also working for someone that is desperate to have him because he's a good worker. He's very responsible and always shows up, cleans up after himself, unlike anyone else. He does work long hours, and he did have some character letters that described him pretty much consistently: hardworking, honest, generous, a good Christian, a leader, selfless. And he's the type of person that goes the extra mile. He brings people to Jesus, and he counsels people in faith. My own experience with him throughout these months that I've been representing him is that he's always asked me, hey, how are you? And he's genuine about that. Like, he really wants to know what's going on. He's been to my home office, which he's in right now. He saw that I needed a chair for my clients that didn't sink. So he came here and he left a box on my front steps that said from the cowboy. And it was a chair, a professional chair for clients to sit in. He also another time noticed that I needed a heater for a room that was not insulated. And he left a heater here. And none of those times I asked him, why don't you stop by and say hello at least, instead of just leaving notes? And he said, well, I don't want to bother you. And so, he's also sent a bouquet of fruit here for my family on Thanksgiving. He's just a very thoughtful person. All of those things that people said embody who he is. And he did that selflessly. And he's truly the person that goes beyond for people in his life, clearly through those letters, through what I've experienced. He's always been humble and grateful for his experiences, and he wants to emulate Jesus. And that's really where it comes from. I mean, that's what prevents him from reacting the way that he used to. He wants to be the person that Jesus wants him to be. And that's where he has found his peace. And that is where he's been able to overcome a lot of his PTSD from his assault that he incurred when he was in 1991, I think. So with all of those things, I think he deserves a full pardon.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pullman, do you want to say anything, or you want us to just ask you questions?
You can ask away. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Sure. Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kulmak, I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your mother.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that.
We were very close.
Yeah. I understand that one of the things you shared, I think, was that you believe that the causes of some of your involvement in the offenses was related to your own assault.
Yes, sir. It was a head injury.
Yeah. So I'm trying to understand around the issue of taking responsibility for some of these for the offenses. Is that something you do, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is your response that the reason for the offenses is because you had this head injury? And
yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
That's your response to this?
Yes, sir.
I think I think he's misunderstanding you. Because specifically in his package, he wrote that that was a mitigating factor. It was another reason. One of the questions in the questionnaire is, why did you commit the offense?
Yeah,
And yeah, he committed
I read it that he kind of connected that with whatever he was doing.
Yeah, but he also specifically said, I'm not blaming that.
I know, I
solely."
understand.
Okay.
He
All
takes
right, I just wanted-
responsibility. However, as part of taking responsibility, this was a mitigating factor for him.
Yes.
I'm just trying to confirm that, that's all. Thank you for clarifying that for me. I appreciate it. Have you been doing anything, what have you been doing around issues of therapy for yourself?
I just work a lot. My job is full-time and I work also on Saturdays, basically just leaving Sunday off for my church.
Was it as a result of the assault, was there any medical therapy that was recommended? Was there any recommendation around, since you had a head injury, were you attending any kind of therapy related to that? Have you been?
I don't remember. What do you mean?
He's asking if they had any type of therapy that you went to.
I just been in and out of the hospital with surgeries. I was in
And
3 times having
no follow-up therapies related to that?
no, sir. No.
Was this like a TBI?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and there was no follow-up therapy. Okay. Milky, you've been managed to be good for 14 years. I mean, you haven't been in trouble for 14 years, which is a very positive thing and a very good thing. You wanted to be is that position a bounty hunter?
Yes, sir. I went to school for that.
Yeah. And so do you feel that being granted a pardon would provide you the opportunity to do that? Is that something you still want to do even after having had this injury?
Yes, I want to continue in that. I enjoyed the training and I enjoyed the 4 years of training out on the field. And I wanted to continue, but a license is required here in this state.
Yeah. Yeah, but is it something you would want to continue to pursue if you were granted a pardon?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Even though you have this kind of ongoing medical condition.
No, it was 1991.
That was 1991, sir.
Yeah.
My injury.
Okay. All right.
Yes, that was a while ago.
I see. Okay, at this particular moment, I don't have any additional questions, Madam Chair.
So, Mr. Comac, so the offenses like the breach of peace, the assault, interfering and resisting, failure to appear, illegal operating a motor vehicle under suspension, evading injury, reckless driving, larceny 6, and disorderly conduct. Those are all due to the head injury that you received?
No.
Okay. What do you think was going on with you when you committed those offenses?
What you say?
What do you think was going on when you committed those offenses?
What was going on?
Yeah. Like throughout that time.
I don't know.
Well, you did talk about PTSD. You did talk about some of the things about ego and not being able to back down.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you can explain to her.
I don't know how to put it in words.
Okay, so do you think you had a problem with anger? For example, when you confronted someone and things weren't going your way, did you have a problem dealing with that kind of it?
Well, I wasn't confronting them. They were basically confronting me. So I would stand my ground is what it was. Yes.
So you weren't willing to back down or try to resolve it?
Yes.
So did you take like an anger management program?
Did you ever have any anger management with court or anything?
I believe I do. Yes. Back in the day.
And what do you think was your takeaway from that anger management program that you took?
Well, it teaches you not to get angry for one, and how to deal with a situation.
Can you give me an example?
Well,
And
when confronted by somebody with anger with anger issues, I've learned, just to put my hands up and basically walk away.
yeah, and you understand, you say you want to be, or you want to obtain your bail enforcement license. And
Yes.
that alone is confrontational because, I'm assuming that you're taking people in who are trying to escape the law, right?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So tell me, what is the role of bail enforcement officer?
What do you do when you're a bail enforcement officer?
Oh, we learn to be professional and listen to our people. Everything's basically on our failure to appear application. So when these people fail, we have to confront them in a professional manner. And we don't just rush through conclusions. We have to look over all the paperwork and put our ABCs in order to make that arrest.
So what if someone becomes confrontational with you?
Well, you never go with just one. There's usually three of us together, and we try to calm down the individual and explain to them why we are there. Because the first thing they do is they jump at a conclusion, and they get offensive. We try not to do that. We just kind of calm them down and read the paperwork over with them and explain to them why we are there and the purpose.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's very professional is what it is. And that's what I try to do even at work and in society in general.
Okay. And so, you sort of turned your life around.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
just by the character reference by your attorney, indicating, your good traits, I can tell that you have certainly changed. And also, you were on probation 5 times and you successfully completed them, and you paid your restitution.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I think you've done everything that you were asked to do after you completed your time. And granted, your history was, pretty extensive, but I can see that you have learned from it and that you are honestly trying to be a better person in your community. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, Meyer?
I have no follow-up. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So in the case of Slade Colmack, I move to grant an absolute pardon. Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Ms. Palmieri?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Absolute pardon granted.
Thank you very much for your time.
Good luck to you.
God bless
Mr.
you all.
Cormack.
Thank you.
I don't know, man. The idea that he was just granted actually confuses me. Now, there's a few things. I know that I said that we're not going to get the outcome until the end. It's going to take me a while to figure this out. There are different types of hearings. We're getting it from different places. Apparently, this pardon hearing, they do tell you the outcome, but there are others that they don't. So again, bear with me as we go through this. This is kind of part of how I do things. I just run with the hip, trying to ship out hearings. And if you remember from my first, many of my parole hearings that I've unpacked, the proficiency and quality gets better with time, and I expect that will happen here too with Mandu 2. So they did give the outcome for this one, and I'm I just don't know what to say. I mean, it's one thing he's saying, "Hey, I want a pardon hearing so I can hunt. I want a part so I can," but he wants to be a bounty hunter, and nothing from the hearing that I just saw kind of made me feel comfortable for him to be in the position of being a bounty hunter? I don't know. My takeaway was a little like almost like this was a comical, like a comedy skit. He just didn't seem to even kind of be aware of what was going on. He was answering the questions terribly. I mean, it was as if like, oh, well, so are you saying that everything you did wrong was because the time you banged your head? And he's like, yep. And then, the attorney comes in and is like, no, no, no. And on the note of the attorney, again, this is just my opinion, my perspective. It was like it just felt like a very unprofessional relationship. It almost like as if they were a couple or something. It was not like an attorney-client type relationship. Just the energy that I got, and even the examples of how she was talking about him by, oh, he came over and brought a chair for me, and he came over and he fixed this, and it was like, I don't know. It kind of sounds like he's wooing you versus, but it, it's it's I'm frankly, I don't know. I'm a bit surprised. I thought that he blundered that interview completely from beginning to end. And but I guess to his credit, he says or claims that he has been a bounty hunter for the past 15 years in different states, and he doesn't have any problems that we know of or that they know of. But I mean, if you have a problem with fighting and anger, and even as the attorney said, I think ego, you're going to be in the profession of being a bounty hunter. I just don't understand that. I mean, am I crazy? But they granted him. So, hey, if you're on the run, don't get in the way of his ego. So that's all I guess the advice I can give you. But all right, so we just spent a decent amount of time watching these different hearings. Thank you again, Richard, for discovering it. And I have a lot more that we can do and can do in terms of revocation hearings, parole hearings, pardon hearings. We'll go over the board members and who they are, and we'll do that type of stuff. If this is something that you're into, we'll have to figure out the cadence and the schedule, how often we do these. But let me know your thoughts. And thank you so much for being here. And with that, I'll let you go.